Quarter one has come to a close and we're springing right into April. So for the month of March, I received 17 different dividend payouts. So I'll go over each of those payouts as well as some technical analysis on the stocks. I'll go over what stocks I purchased throughout the month of March and also what my plans are for the month of April. Since we have a handful to go over today, let's jump right in. Over here in M1 Finance, looking at my dividend portfolio, the total amount of my dividend portfolio is $13,648.49. Over the last month, my gain is a negative $119.95, and I have a negative return of 0.91%. From the start of the year, my gain is a positive $311.11, and I have a positive return of 2.68%. And my overall gain is a positive $494.55, and I have a positive return of 9.18%. The first dividend payout I received was on March 1st from Intel, ticker symbol INTC, and they paid me $2.23. From the start of the year, Intel has grown about 24%, bringing it to a current share price of $32.83. And Intel is moving nicely close to its midpoint of its 52-week range, and they have a dividend yield of 1.51%, which will give you an annual payout of 50 cents. Now last month, Intel did cut its dividend about 66%, so it is a lot lower than it used to be. Moving over to a daily chart, since the beginning of March, Intel has been nicely moving through all of its moving averages, making new highs. It still has a bullish momentum right here since we're over the white line, and we have a nice positive trend and getting into the overbought section. So things are looking pretty nice for Intel. On March 3rd, I received a dividend payout from Pfizer, ticker symbol PFE, and they paid me 73 cents. Now since the beginning of the year, Pfizer has fallen about 19%, bringing it to a current share price of $41.55. They are very close to their 52-week low, which was $39, and they currently have a dividend yield of 4.01%, which will give you an annual payout of $1.64. Since the beginning of the year, Pfizer has pretty much been below all of its moving averages and has that 52-week low around 39 in the middle of March. Since then, it has moved through its 25-day moving average. We do have positive momentum, but still in the bearish side of things, and we are coming off of a negative trend right here with the trend slightly moving upwards. One good thing about this is that since we are close to its 52-week low, if you do have Pfizer in your portfolio, it'll be a good time to start dollar cost averaging and picking up some new shares. On March 7th, I received a dividend payout from Johnson & Johnson, ticker symbol J&J, and they paid me $6.68. Since the beginning of the year, Johnson & Johnson has fallen about 7%, bringing it to a current share price of $165.61. So Johnson & Johnson is still close to their midpoint at their 52-week range, and they have a nice dividend yield of 2.85%, which will give you an annual payout of $4.52. So in the month of March, Johnson & Johnson has hovered around the $155 range. Slowly, right now, we are starting to get some nice positive momentum, still on the bearish side, and breaking into a neutral trend. So you can see right here, it's starting to break through its moving averages with a nice bump up this last day. For the month of March, I have been dollar cost averaging in Johnson & Johnson because it's been under that $160 range, so I've been picking up a handful of shares there. So you may just want to consider dollar cost averaging if it stays around that $160 range. On March 10th, I received a dividend payout from Target, ticker symbol TGT, and they paid me $9.36. From the beginning of the year, Target has grown about 9%, bringing it to a current share price of $165.24. Target is starting to move away from its 52-week low, which was $137, and they have a nice dividend yield of 2.6%, which will give you an annual payout of $4.32. Now, Target has been bouncing between $155 and that $165 range, as you can see right here, staying below its 200-day moving average. Now, we have had a lot of negative momentum, but we're still on the bullish side of things and starting to get some positive momentum once again. So we have a neutral trend right here, but it is moving upwards towards the overbought section. And personally, a price target I look for in Target is around that $150 range. On March 13th, I received a dividend payout from 3M, ticker symbol MMM, and they paid me $3. Now, since the beginning of the year, 3M has fallen about 16.5%, bringing it to a current share price of $102.29, and they're right above their 52-week range, which was $100. 3M does have a really nice dividend yield of 5.87%, which will give you an annual payout of $6. Now, in the month of March, 3M did fall a good bit towards that $100 range, and since then has been hovering just above $100. So it is still right a tad underneath all of its moving averages. We are on the bearish side with a slight positive momentum, but we do have a negative trend and just trailing on that oversold area. Although we are at its 52 range, I haven't really added any more towards 3M just due to some of the different cases that are revolving around the company. And so a lot to go through, but they are keeping up with their dividend and keeping that steady. So that is a good sign. And hopefully the company can still support those dividends moving forward. Moving into the I's of March, I received 3 different dividend payouts on this day. The first one being from NextEra Energy, ticker symbol NEE, and they paid me 36 cents. Now NextEra Energy since the beginning of the year has fallen 6.5%, bringing it to a current share price to $78.33. So NextEra Energy are right on their midpoint of their 52-week range. They do have a nice dividend yield of 2.42%, which will give you an annual payout of $1.87. Now NextEra Energy did fall at the beginning of March. Since then, started to climb through all of its moving averages, pushing through its 50-day moving average and getting very close to its 200-day moving average. You see right there, it started to bounce off. So we do have positive momentum starting to go into the bullish side, which is a nice thing to see for NextEra Energy. And the trend is starting to go into neutral, and we are in the overbought section over here. Second dividend payout on March 15th was from Realty Income, ticker symbol O, and they paid me $1.32. Since the beginning of the year, Realty Income has fallen about 1.5%, bringing them to a current share price of $62.71. So Realty Income is just below their midpoint of their 52-week range, and they have a nice dividend yield of 4.87%, which will give you an annual payout of $3.06. Realty Income did fall around the middle of March, which was nice to see that it was below that $60 range, which is a good price that I started picking up some shares. Since then, it started to move through its 25-day and 50-day moving average. We do see it's starting to pick up some positive momentum, but still on the bearish side, and it is moving into a neutral trend here as it's moving towards its overbought section. So the last stock I received on March 15th was from Stag, ticker symbol STAG, and they paid me $2.10. Since the beginning of the year, Stag has grown about 2.5%, bringing it to a current share price of $33.18. Stag is starting to move close to its midpoint of its 52-week range, and they have a nice dividend yield of 4.41%, which will give you an annual payout of $1.47. Now Stag, similar to Realty Income, did have a fall at the beginning of March, and since then has started to move through all of its moving averages, and it looks like it bounced off of its 200-day moving average, so staying around that $30 range. We are seeing a positive momentum, but it's still on the bearish side, and we do have a neutral trend right here. So most likely we'll stay around that $30-$35 range for a while until we get more momentum to start pushing it back up into the high 30 range. On March 16th, I received a dividend payout for Duke Energy, ticker symbol DUK, and they paid me 58 cents. Since the beginning of the year, Duke Energy has fallen just above 7%, bringing it to a current share price of $98.84. They are right below their midpoint of their 52-week range, and they have a nice dividend yield of 4.18%, which will give you an annual payout of $4.02. As for Duke, in the month of March, it did have a low around the $90 range, since then has started to move through all of its moving average, getting close to its 200-day moving average, as you can see right here. Now the momentum is starting to go into the bullish side, and we do have a neutral trend right now, close to its overbought area. So it's going to take a lot of momentum for Duke to be able to push towards its 200-day moving average and start making new highs. We're about halfway through all the dividend payouts for this month, and we're getting to the tail end of March. So on March 21st, I received a dividend payout from Stanley Black & Decker, ticker symbol SWK, and they paid me $3.37. Since the beginning of the year, Stanley Black & Decker has fallen just above 2%, bringing it to a current share price of $74.47. Stanley Black & Decker is still right above their 52-week low, and they have a nice dividend yield of 4.15%, which will give you an annual payout of $3.20. And since the beginning of March, Stanley Black & Decker has stayed under all of its moving averages, with a slight bump up here at the tail end of March. As far as momentum, doesn't look too good for Stanley Black & Decker. Pretty much has fallen all the way through, and we're starting to get into the bearish side of things, and we have a negative momentum right above the oversold section. On March 23rd, I received a dividend payout from Qualcomm, ticker symbol QCOM, and they paid me $6.09. Since the beginning of the year, Qualcomm has grown about 15%, bringing it to a current share price of $123.04. So they are moving nicely towards their midpoint of their 52-week range, and Qualcomm has a nice dividend yield of 2.45%, which will give you an annual payout of $3. Similar to the previous stocks we've looked at, Qualcomm also had a fall in the mid-March and has slowly been moving through all of its moving averages, Towards the end of March, it started to bounce off of its 200-day moving average. So slightly started to get some positive momentum, and we're still on the bullish side of things, but we do have a neutral trend staying in this overbought section right here. Qualcomm is most likely going to stay around that $120 range, $125 range. On March 24th, I received a dividend payout from Lockheed Martin, ticker symbol LMT. And they paid me $2.43. Since the beginning of the year, Lockheed Martin has grown about 2.5%, bringing it to a current share price of $489.99. Lockheed Martin is very close to its 52-week high, which was $498. They have a nice dividend yield of 2.46%, which will give you an annual payout of $12. Now, this last month, Lockheed Martin has fluctuated around all of its moving averages, staying above its 200-day moving average. And towards the end of the month, they had a nice spike up right here. So we are on the bear side of momentum over here, but we are starting to get close to the bullish side. We do have a neutral trend, so that makes sense that there hasn't been any big jumps up here for Lockheed Martin. It stayed around that $470 range to $480 range. Now on March 30th, I received a dividend payout from T. Rowe Price, ticker symbol TROW. And they paid me 53 cents. Since the beginning of the year, T. Rowe Price has grown a little bit, about 0.5%, bringing them to a current share price of $109.59. They're staying towards the low end of their 52-week range. They have a nice dividend yield of 4.41%, which will give you an annual payout of $4.88. Now, T. Rowe Price did have a fall around mid-March, and has since then started to gain some momentum to push through all this moving averages. And right now, it just bounced off of its 100-day moving average. So we do have a neutral trend right here, getting close to its overbought section, and we're still on the bearish side of the momentum right here. For me, I do like T. Rowe Price getting close to that $100 range as far as adding to position. Now, on the last day of the month, I received 4 different dividend payouts. The first one being from Bank of America, ticker symbol BAC. And Bank of America paid me $3.31. Since the beginning of the year, Bank of America has fallen about 17.5%. And with the big drop right after Silicon Valley Bank is right here around mid-March, just like everything else we've seen. So that brings it to a current share price of $27.64. And Bank of America is very close to its 52-week low. They do have a decent dividend yield of 3.15%, and I'll give you an annual payout of 88 cents. As I mentioned, Bank of America had a big fall right after Silicon Valley Bank and has been staying around that $26, $28 range right here. They do have a lot of negative momentum being on the bear side and have a negative trend staying on the oversold section. The second dividend I received on the last day of March was from Broadcom, ticker symbol AVGO, and Broadcom paid me $8.33. Since the beginning of the year, Broadcom has grown about 2.5%, bringing them to a current share price of $629.01. Broadcom is very close to its 52-week high, which was $648, and they have a nice dividend yield of 2.9%, which will give you an annual payout of $18.40. And since the beginning of March, Broadcom has stayed above all its moving averages around that $630 range. We are still on the bear side of things and do have a nice positive trend staying in overbought section. Now, Dividend Energy, ticker symbol DVN, is one of the newer stocks in my portfolio, and they paid me 43 cents. Since the beginning of the year, Dividend Energy has fallen about 6.5%, bringing them to a current share price of $53.53. They are below their midpoint of their 52-week range and do have a decent dividend yield of 1.52%, giving you an annual payout of 80 cents. As far as Dividend Energy, I do like the price range to be under that $50 range, and it did drop there for a bit in March. As you can see right here, around that midpoint of March, it was around that $45 range. And towards the end, it started to move back through its 25-day and 50-day moving average, and we're all bouncing off of its 100-day moving average right here. So we do have some positive momentum, but still on the bear side of things. And we are starting to get into a neutral trend right here as we get close to that overbought area. And the very last dividend I received in the month of March was from none other than Pepsi, ticker symbol PEP, and they paid me $3.30. Now, since the beginning of the year, Pepsi has grown just above 2%, bringing them to a current share price of $183.64. They are getting very close to their 52-week high of $186, and they have a nice dividend yield of 2.53%, which will give you an annual payout of $4.60. Now, coming off of the fall in mid-March, Pepsi has nicely gone through all of its moving average, making new highs at least for the month. And we are getting very close to that 52-week high. So you can see here the momentum is just made it into the bullish side of the house, and our trend has started to turn into a positive trend right here, and we are in the overbought section. So things are looking very nice to Pepsi. On the flip side, it's not the best time to start adding to your portfolio because it is starting to make new highs, but we are getting a lot of nice growth out of Pepsi right now. And tallying up all the dividends from the 17 different stocks, we come to a total of $54.50, which is a new record for my dividend portfolio, so that's exciting. And the yearly total is $96.03, which is about halfway through of what my yearly total was last year, and we're only 3 months in, so it's nice to see that snowball continuing to grow. Moving on to the stocks that I purchased out the month of March. So the first three, they were underneath my average share price, so I was dollar cost averaging them. The first one being from Johnson & Johnson. I put about $100 in and got 0.35 shares. Next one being Best Buy. Once again, I put $100 in and got about 1.3 shares. Lastly, from Lowe's, I liked that it was under that $200 range, so I put $50 in and got 0.25 shares. Next two are my semiconductor stocks, and I like to add a little bit when they have some dips. First one was Broadcom. I put $50 in and got 0.07 shares, and the second one be from Qualcomm. I like that I was out around that $115 range. I put in $50 and got 0.41 shares. Next, a new position that I recently added was from Tyson. I like that it was underneath $60, and I put $125 in and got 2.15 shares. The next two, once Silicon Valley shook up the market, I put $30 in for Bank of America to pick up 1 share, and for T. Rowe Price, I put $90 in and got almost 1 share. The next three are my energy stocks. Now, I really didn't have any energy stocks in there previously. The first one I added was Enterprise Product Partners, so I put $75 in and got almost 3 shares. Now, the next one, Exxon, I'm going to slowly be adding here and there. It's not at my preferred price target, but I'm going to add a little bit here and there. So I put in $52 and got about half a share. And the next one being from Devon Energy. I put about $48 in and got almost 1 share of Devon Energy. On the flip side with the utilities, I have Duke Energy and NextEra Energy. I put about $50 in both of them and got about half a share of each one. As far as my REITs, I just focused on Realty Income, put about $30 in and got about half a share when it was underneath that $60 range. I should have put a little bit more to at least get 1 share, but didn't happen. And then next one was Medical Property Trust. So I put about $30 and got over 3 shares of that. For these next two stocks, one thing I decided to try when their share price fell at the beginning of March, I decided to get a little bit of each of those. Now, the first one was Microsoft. I put $75 in and got about 0.3 shares of that. And my preferred price target is around that $220 range. I did miss out when it was close to that back in January. So for now, when it has some drops just like Exxon, I'll be picking some up. The next one being from Apple. My preferred price range is around that $140 range. And it was that back in January. So when it dropped a little bit in March, I decided to take a little nimble at it. So I want to slowly grow those up, but if it comes back to either of those prices that I just mentioned, I'll be picking up more shares of that just to kind of build my position in those. And telling up everything I just spent was $1,080. Looking forward into April to see what dividends I'm expected to receive. I'm over here in the dividend tracker. This is where I have linked up my brokerage account and also keep track of the different payouts I'll be receiving. If you're curious about dividend tracker, I have a referral link down in the description. There is a free version and also a premium version. And that's the one I use. So here in the dividend calendar, what is nice about this, you can also click the certain days to see what dividends I'll receive on those days. So clicking here on April 13th, I'll receive a dividend payout from Best Buy. I'm expected to receive about $13, and also from Medical Property Trust, about $4 from them. Now on the 14th, I'll receive my favorite monthly dividend REIT, which is Realty Income. I'll receive about $1.70. And on April 17th, I'll receive from my other monthly dividend payer, which is Stag. I'll receive about $2 from them. And on the last day of the month, I'll receive a dividend payout from JP Morgan, and I'll receive about close to $5, $4.80. So those are all the dividends I'll receive in the month of April, and it's about $26, about half of what I received this month. But still good, still growing that dividend snowball. As for my plans for April, right now I will be focusing on dollar cost averaging. This last month there was Lowe's, Best Buy, and Target. So if those are still underneath my average share price, I will be picking up some of them. I will continue to add a little bit to my semiconductor stocks if they have a little pullback. And the same with Microsoft and Apple. Right now, those two have been growing nicely the last few weeks. So most likely won't be adding any more to them, but I will add a little bit if they pull back. The next two I will be looking at is Tyson and also Devon Energy. So if those stay around that $60 range, I will be adding some to those just to start building my position in them. And lastly, Johnson & Johnson has stayed around that $150 range, $155. So I'll be picking up at least one more share if it stays around that price. With that, I'd love to know what your highest dividend payout was for the month of March and what your plans are for the month of April. If you're looking for more dividend analysis, check out this video right over here and I'll catch you over there. Have a blessed day and a happy Easter. Peace.